everybody. Welcome to another update from Sitch Radio. My name is Brian. I am your host, and I run Sitch Radio here in Irvine, California, which is a full-service podcast production studio. If you are looking to start a podcast, give us a call. We offer free consultations. Come in, see the place, and see if it's a good fit for you and your production. So today, I want to cover a couple of things. Number one, episode planning. A lot of people don't think about what's coming up other than the very next episode. And I encourage you to pop open a calendar, a year view, and start thinking about what's ahead. And I mean, long term. Are you already thinking about your Thanksgiving episode or your Christmas episode if you're in the U.S.? If you're not in the U.S., what upcoming holidays do you have? In addition to that, if you take, for example, you're going to do a episode on leadership in the future and you bring guests onto your show, are you asking them any leadership type questions before you start their episode to compile and record and maybe use as snippets to promote what's upcoming and or utilize within that future episode? You can really do a lot of things and make your show that much more dynamic if you put forethought into it and start collecting sound bites now, well ahead of time. This isn't going to be a podcast tutorial. If you'd like to hear how to podcast better and or tips, tricks, things of that nature, check out I'd Podcast That 2.0. We're on all your favorite podcast players, and you might enjoy what you hear over there. This show is more about what's going on in and around podcasting. So the second thing I want to talk about is Uncut.fm. If you are a podcaster and you have a knacking for all things crypto and or NFT, check out what Uncut.fm is doing. They've got some pretty cool tools and platform for podcasters, and I think you might dig it, especially if you're into the crypto and NFT space as it sits now. Excuse me. So that's what's going on over there. They're accepting some people into a kind of like internship program, and there's going to be some added perk if you get accepted into the program. It's obvious, or I shouldn't say it's obvious, you don't know anything about it at this point. It's very community driven. It's not just growing an audience, it's turning your audience into a community. It's about finding out who your super fans are and utilizing non-fungible tokens to build and grow that community and tighten it up. Pretty cool. We submitted feed drops. And when I say we, Lynn's, Florin, and I submitted for feed drops, and we've been accepted. And we're currently working through the process to get the show linked up on the blockchain and start utilizing and growing community there. We think it's going to be a great fit for that show. We've already amassed somewhat of a fan base, and there's some super users within that. And this is only going to help strengthen that relationship between podcasters and listeners. So really dig it. It's got some decent leadership. I shouldn't say decent. It's got some great leadership. The onboarding process was fairly painless. You do sit with a couple of people and, hash things out, talk. They want to know how you intend to use it and, what you're doing inside the space. Have your numbers together. If you don't have a media kit, I'm not saying you need a media kit, but at least know your numbers. How many Twitter followers? How many Instagram followers? How many TikTok followers? How engaged is your audience? How many downloads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They want to bring shows on that understand how to build community around an audio podcast, and that fits in well with what they're trying to do. So even if you're a new podcast, but if you're, heavily using social media and growing a community, that can help. So I've talked to a few of the podcasters here at Sitch Radio, and they are applying for the program as well. So it'll be kind of cool to have some of my hosts over there, in addition to just the Feed Drops show. Let's see, a couple more announcements. The book club on sitchradio.com is kind of fun. If you're looking to become a better podcaster or a better storyteller, or maybe you're uncomfortable trying to sell your show to potential sponsors and advertisers, there's books over there for those categories right now. The book I'm actually listening to right now for next month, I'm super excited about. It's written by a gentleman that I've worked with a little bit with one of the shows we're developing at the current time, and just super stoked to hear and listen to his book. He actually reads it, so it's kind of cool when authors read their own books, especially if they have a podcast or you have listened to them prior. It's always kind of cool. And the podcast pitch competition, there is still time to get your show in the running. The actual judging will happen the 30th of this month. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, visit the link in the show notes below or go to sitchradio.com and you will see the links in the upper right-hand menu. If you're on a mobile device, check out events. There's a link to it there. And that's about all I've got today. Listen, it's Friday. It's been, a short week, having Monday off with the 4th. However, the week's been long for me. Hopefully it hasn't been long for you. Everybody be safe this weekend. Keep your creative thinking caps on, and let's create some awesome content. We'll see you next week.